And once again, it's been a long time. We have our Penello here back on the show, man. Aubrey, what's up, man?
How's it going? Good to
Good.
see you guys.
Good. It's been a long time. I think the last one was three.
I think 2013, right after maybe 14,
Yes.
early in the year.
Yes,
We were trying to
definitely.
beat the Aaron Greenberg record for
Yes.
you guys.
And it did actually too.
Good. All right. Awesome.
You beat him. So let's talk about Xbox One X, man. Great job with the press conference and everything,
Thank you.
man. And tell us a little about it. We'll go from there.
Well, it's been a big week. I mean, I don't even know where to start because I haven't been able to talk to people about it for so long. We've been working on it for many years, but last year we unveiled Project Scorpio with these mysterious specs, and people, we said, oh, we're going to be the true 4K and 60 frames, and everybody's like, no, can't do it. And today we came out and you're seeing games in 4K 60, and it's the most powerful console in the world. And I just love the developers now who are getting a chance to talk about the fact that they're getting their games up and running really quick and focusing on performance and focusing on gameplay. And I think I'm just really glad that we can bring Xbox fans the most powerful consoles so that they can reclaim that the best versions of games are going to be on Xbox.
So,
So whenever did you see that, by the way? So please.
because I think people need to understand that are listening to this or watching this, that what you guys have done on a technical level and on a hardware level to be able to squeeze this amount of power out of Xbox One X. I'm going to try very hard to not say Project Scorpio anymore.
I'll make the mistake. Don't worry. It's okay.
Let's kind of start with the fact that you're giving developers 9 gigabytes of memory. How important that is as far as making a game and what they can do with all that room.
Yeah, I mean, we had a super developer first approach to this. In fact, I like to sort of remind people that last year we announced one console in Project Scorpio. We were actually building two. We have a bespoke development kit designed just for developers to work on Project Scorpio. So we actually had to build 2 pieces of hardware. And so we not only did we want to deliver customers 4K in the living room, we needed to make it really easy for developers to harness all that power. And you're right. I mean, if you look at our machine on every dimension, the amount of memory we have, the speed of the memory bandwidth, the bus speed, the amount we give to developers, each one of those is so much greater than anything that's out on the market. And memory is super important. We have as much memory for games on Xbox One X as the other consoles have in total. And that's a huge benefit to delivering 4K textures and draw distances and load time, and all those things are affected by memory.
So, in keeping with the hardware, how has been the response from developers themselves when working with whether it's the Xbox One X or the development kit?
I think it's been great. I mean, you guys I'm sure, are out or talking to developers and getting their perspective. So I know what our internal guys are saying, but it's fun watching. I think the art guys were just like being super effusive about the box. We heard another developer said, I think yesterday, they got their engine up and running in 2 hours on Xbox One X. And the reason that's important for gamers, because it's a fun stat that doesn't really matter in the time, but the reason it matters is because the amount of time developers are spending on tech is time they're not spending on gameplay, on features, on harnessing the power. And so the reason I think it's so important is getting games up and running in 2 hours means I'm only spending time on the game. I'm not spending time trying to just get the thing to work. And that was critical. Like from the beginning, that was something we wanted to be able to do.
So I'm still undecided because I don't have a 4K. So what about those that don't have a 4K TV?
Well, I think there's 2 things. First off, Xbox One S is like not going anywhere. And I think there are people out there that just want a game that, don't have $500 to spend, or they're just like, they're turning 13, they're getting their first console. And so like, no one should be ashamed about buying an Xbox One S. Everything you see out there is playable. All the games are going to work. They're going to look great. We got a 4K Blu-ray player on Xbox One S. But there are people that want the most performance. And we've been very thoughtful about 1080p too. The faster loading times with the faster hard drive that's available. There's some hardware innovation that we have. So anisotropic filtering can be applied to the old games. So textures will look better in your old games. We have 4K game DVR applied to the old games. And then we do super sampling And if you guys haven't seen any of the YouTube videos that some of the PC guys have done on super sampling, you should take a look, because a 4K image super sampled down to 1080p looks better than a native 1080p image. So even if you have a 1080p TV, you still get the 4K textures. You can't see it native, but it looks way better than a 1080p game does.
So
It always starts, man, every time the mic gets to him. So
it's a two-part question. So I want you to talk about why it's so significant that you're doing the vapor cooling in Xbox One X, and also one of your engineers, and I'm blanking because I should have had my notes in front of me, developed. Can you talk about what he created and why it's named after him?
Well, I know for you, being the PC guy, that you appreciate the high end and the tech, and we wanted to over deliver on the physical hardware as much as we wanted to over deliver on the performance. And so we set out from the beginning to say, you know what, we're going to surprise the world. They're going to expect this thing to be bigger. We're going to try and make it the same or smaller than the Xbox One S, and we were working on both at the same time. But of course, that's not easy. We're pushing twice as much physical power watts through the box as we are on an Xbox One S, and you have to cool that. And we have more memory and those chips get hot, and that has to be cooled. And the CPU is so much bigger. The SoC is so much bigger. The Scorpio engine, and so we had to invent some stuff, and then we had to bring in some. I'll call it boutique. We didn't invent a vapor chamber. They're on Founders Editions, right, and NVIDIA uses them. They're super efficient. They're usually low volume. We think this is the first time that we've done that a vapor chamber has been brought to a consumer product at this scale. But it is a form of liquid cooling, like a heat pipe or something. But it's very, very efficient. It's deionized water, the under vacuum, and a copper membrane, and it cools all the memory in the chip. If you've seen the pictures online, so we needed that. Like, we needed that level of efficiency. And then the Hovis method, which I love, there's a little guy, Bill Hovis, who I hope is just grinning as he's listening to this stuff. But basically, typically in any piece of consumer electronics that have a bunch of chips running, you have a power profile that you run. You say, we need to run this much power, and then like the distribution of power required by the chips, you try and hit it in the middle and you run. Well, but for some chips, you're wasting energy. You don't need to run the chips that hot. And so we go in, and every single Xbox One X is tuned for each chip and at the system level to only use the amount of power required to deliver the performance needed. So it is more efficient. It's more environmentally friendly because we're not wasting energy. And so we had to invent that kind of system for both production and design, and to be able to shrink it down. That was a lot of talking, by the way. So I realized.
That's good. That's good. So I know everybody's all interested with graphics and stuff like that. I'm a sound person personally, and I would like to know, how important was it for you guys to get Dolby Atmos involved, so that people aren't just getting video, but they're getting that audio fidelity as well.
Yeah, you heard Kareem talk on stage about true 4K, and when we talk about that, it really is like the whole reason you do all this is to immerse yourself. The whole reason you play games and the whole reason you care about graphics and visuals and sound and resolution is to like lose yourself in the game, and sound is so critical to that. And I remember all the people asking us when we released Xbox One S, are you going to do bitstream out? Are you going to have Dolby Atmos? And we were working on it. And so I do think for guys that have that kind of level, the great thing about Dolby Atmos is it works in headphones as well. So you don't just need to have like a killer in-room sound system. Even with your headphones, you get that simulated 7.4.1 sound. Yeah, so even I love that we can bring that kind of tech to Xbox One S and Xbox One X and have it work on headphones. So it's definitely a worthwhile thing to check out if you can.
Currently, you could connect, I believe, is it 8 devices wirelessly through the console?
Oh man, you're asking me a question. I think we can support. I think we can support up to 8.
Okay,
controllers.
So
yeah.
Now with this console, can it support even more now? Because
Same.
of the same. Okay.
No, and this ties to a lot of the things that we named it Xbox One for a reason. We wanted to make this something that was going to be really easy. So a lot of things like the radio, the ports, the cables are all shared, and those types of features are the same.
So is it possible to connect now instead of 4 controllers, have more and play, let's say like 6 players with different controllers like that. Now
It's going to be exactly the same as
The
it is
same?
on Xbox
Okay,
One S.
alright.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to go directly to my question. So you didn't. I did it. Darn it. You didn't make Xbox One X for me because, as you know, I have a high-end PC. I can play Xbox Play Anywhere. I don't need Xbox One X to have those experiences. But what I try to get people to understand is this isn't a PC in the same vein of you're buying parts off of a shelf and you're installing them. So when you start talking about 6 teraflops and just all the technical specs, it doesn't directly translate to a PC, because I know that was a lot of the speculation leading up to this. Well, my 1080 does more than 6 teraflops, blah, 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 and it doesn't do 4K, but you guys it's a different architecture in that way. So can you kind of explain why at $499, this is more than worth the price of admission to pick up Xbox One S?
Well, I'm glad you're saying it. When I say it, people question. So I love that you say it.
And that's why I'm saying it, because I do feel like Microsoft doesn't get the benefit of the doubt with that. And that's why it was so fantastic that you let Digital Foundry come and see it, talk about it. You had no input into what they were going to say, because this is not a PC.
Right.
It is a console at the end of the day, but you have given it high-end PC type performance here in 2017 that you're not building that for $500 if it's a PC.
Yeah,
Bottom
yeah.
line, you're not even getting the GPU for $500 to try and get that kind of performance. So that's why I wanted to bring that up.
Well, again, I appreciate you saying that, and it's nice to talk to real people in person and have this conversation, because as I've said, there's no doubt the PC is the top, right? It is the king, and that's what's great about PCs is guys like you want to get the new graphics card, you want to build. It costs money to do that, and it takes time to do that. But there's no doubt, and so when especially the debate between PC gamers and this console, I find the most hard to understand. I get the PlayStation versus Xbox fanboy war that goes on, and that's fun to watch. But this is good for PC gamers. We're not taking anything away from the PC. No. There is absolutely the ultimate in performance is on the PC, but it comes at a cost. It comes at people having to take the time and want to do that. But having that level of performance in a console just means that game developers are going to be pushing the envelope on graphics and have another platform for people to see it. If I only do that for PCs, then there's these big 4K TVs. They're going to sell millions of 4K TVs this year, and they're going to be big 65-inch, 50-inch things in the living room. And now game developers are like, all that work that I'm putting into 4K assets on the PC, I have more people that can see that. And we're going to, HDR isn't on PCs yet. And so the Xbox One X, or in limited, right? I think they're just doing HDR monitors now. But that's going to push HDR and wide color gamut on PC. So having a device that has this level of performance at this price in the home is going to make PC gaming better. It's better for the high-end gamers to do this.
No, absolutely.
Question, one thing that I like about this console is that it supports VR, and you can't do that with the older consoles. So why you guys haven't really been pushing that? Because it got my attention big time, so.
Yeah, I mean, we said last year that the console was capable of VR, and I think at this point everybody understands the performance required and that we're going to be able to do it. This year, and look, Microsoft, obviously, I mean, if you followed Alex Kipman and the work we're doing in HoloLens and the announcements we made around bringing VR to Windows, Microsoft as a company is all in. For us, one thing at a time. We got to launch the console. We got to launch games this year. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about VR more later.
Now, from a development standpoint, and I'm not sure if you can actually talk to this directly, but there's also a lot of chatter that you look at the original Xbox One, the Xbox One S, but then you have this with the God, there's so many Xbox.
Okay, you can. I know what you're talking about.
Then you have this new console. That developers being able to take advantage of what this can do is not going to be held back by the previous consoles, even though all the games will live in the same family on the same platform.
Yeah, it's another interesting thing that I see people say, and I think there's two answers. First, we put the time and effort and energy into making that a true statement. It is part of the Xbox One family. Again, we go back to developers are getting their engines up and running in 2 hours, a few days. That's a testament to the fact that they share the same development kit, they share the same development environment, they run the same engine, they use the same profiling tools. Everything that we provide to developers to make a game is the same. The Turn 10 guys have talked about the fact that the time that they spent on tuning their engine for Xbox One S to do dynamic weather just made the Xbox One X version even more efficient. So any effort and energy in console development to extract more performance out of one gets more performance out of the other. So this idea that they're held back isn't true. And I think the second example of that is in your world, the highest end games run on integrated graphics cards. Like there's an Intel integrated graphics that can run The Witcher, and it's not going to run The Witcher like your dual 1080s are going to run it, but it still works. And no one says, oh well, PC development is held back by not allowing developers to only make games for a 1080 Ti. And so this is just an environment we live in. Developers are used to having multiple performance profiles. They build their engines to be scalable and flexible, and we have spent a lot of time with Xbox One X and the development kit to make it really, really easy for developers to make great games on Xbox and get the most out of Xbox One X.
Because speaking on that, I interviewed, I believe, his creative director for Sea of Thieves a couple days ago. God, we've been here for a long time, but when talking to him and I asked him about, Xbox One X, how you're going to take advantage, his first response was, we've been developing for Windows 10 this entire time, so it was like just flipping a switch, and it was an easy integration. So I think that speaks perfectly into what you're saying.
Yeah.
So sticking with the development theme, what was it like getting all of the components, or the GPU, system cooling? How difficult was that to get that in such a small form factor? Because now this is the smallest console you guys have ever produced. What was that process like?
It was hard. That's what that process was like. Look, I think I've probably said this before. There's no doubt that the team wanted to show off what we could do. There's no doubt that we wanted to show the world that we can make serious hardware. And that we were gonna, like I said, we were gonna over deliver, and it took, there's a video that we just released with the guy that runs hardware. He did a thing with Larry where he assembles all the components. If you guys haven't seen it, you should check it out. But the spaces in there, and the craftsmanship on, the cable that runs from the Blu-ray drive to the motherboard has to be shielded and locked down with a connector. Not just for neatness, because the vibration that comes off the ODD can vibrate the cable and impact or the hard drive performance. And so these guys are like, they're talking smaller than millimeter levels of clearance they're trying to get into things. And I love that our hardware team is getting a chance to show what it can do, and that we've got the console out with all the components and stuff like that. So it's a lot of hard work and a lot of super smart guys.
Anything else?
I do have one, since I have the reputation of being the salty one in us, so I have to ask this question. Why not have it ready for pre-order day one?
Oh, I think it's a good question. We're a long way away from launch. And so I think we wanted to have a really strong E3 around talking about the product, around talking about the games. We knew coming in people were really going to ask about games. We're going to do pre-orders closer to launch. I think we're going to have some fun stuff to talk about around pre-orders that we haven't talked about now. I think we had a great story. We had a lot to tell people. We're going to focus on that. And then, stay tuned. They're coming.
I know you guys were having fun a couple of days ago when those hidden messages supposedly on the teasers. How was it for you guys behind the scenes, just checking out the social media and these crazy conspiracies and everything?
It's funny because the number is the part number of the chip. The number that was on the thing is actually the actual part number, and if you watch our video, you see that number right on there.
Yeah.
So I love the sort of lost level conspiracy theories that people build over the part number of the chip and trying to reinterpret the date.
Yeah.
We just thought it was cool that if you paid attention to that and watched our video, they had the part number of the chip there. Like, who knew that they were going to sort of decode some strange interpretation of that? It's just the part number of the chip.
Yeah, I had a crazy conspiracy, but yeah, it didn't. I failed. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know what? I've been in this business for a long time. It is my favorite thing about this business is like the enthusiasm and the passion that people have, that they're putting that much time and effort into something that flashes on the screen for like a nanosecond, and then they've gone off and created these crazy stories.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people wanted maybe to keep the name Scorpio for this console.
It's in there.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, like Xbox One X, why X? And you're, if
Yeah,
you could talk
this
about
is a good story. I mean, it was always going to be Xbox One.
Okay.
It was always going to be called Xbox One something. It had to be because again, we're introducing this new idea in the middle of a console generation, and so there's so much history in consoles, right? This is what's great about this business. It's like there's still game creators in this business that were making games on the 2600, right? And that's I think very unique that the dawn of this industry still exists. So there's a lot of history of consoles, and when you do something new, you have to bring customers along. And it was always the idea. We knew many people were going to come in with this this notion that this was a next gen thing and all the baggage that comes with that. So it was always going to be Xbox One.
Okay.
Scorpio exists, and the Scorpio engine is the name of our chip. So Scorpio is still in the product. And then again, and Phil said it on stage, it's totally true. There is a lot of DNA between what we were doing with the original Xbox, and it was a PC in a console, and it had PC DNA in it. It was about bringing PC developers. It was the direct Xbox, and so it was the most powerful console in the world at the time that we launched it. And so I really liked that it not only worked with our Xbox One S and Xbox One X, but I liked that it had a call back to the DNA of the product and the DNA of the name back into the OG. So to me, it had a nice ring to it. It had a nice symmetry. And I just love that, like, I can still say there's no power greater than X, that I can say that again. I've been able to say that for 16 years, so I can say it again.
That's cool. Cool. Anything else, guys? That's it? Cool.
This has been awesome.
Yeah, Albert, thanks a lot, man. You've always been supporting us, man, since day one, so thanks a lot, man.
Wait. I have a slight bonus. You may not remember this, but when we talked to you back in 2013, and I told a story about with Connect and bringing up the TV, and it didn't come full screen, and the whole thing, that was the wife approval factor.
Yeah.
And then you took that to heart, and you went back and you actually fixed it.
We listen.
Yeah.
We listen to our
listen.
fans.
Yeah. So that's great. My wife thanks you.
All right, good. Excellent. Awesome. You're welcome.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Take it easy, guys.